Welcome to more Polyphony Digital or PD Logic, where PD does some things that just PD makes sense. They just plain don't make sense, folks. I know I haven't done one of these in a while, but honestly, with all the recent E3 and updates and such being on 1.07 now and knowing the release date of the actual game, there hasn't been all that much to complain about. But, as I've said in previous videos, where this is the beta, if there's any time to complain, this does seem to be the best time. Because once the actual game comes out, it might be too little too late, really. So it's better to get the stuff fixed in the beta, so I figured I'd just go ahead and bring it up. Because that's the point of a beta, fix the bugs, and there's some definite bugs in this. And honestly, I don't even think a lot of them are bugs. They're just sort of logic that's off. Whether it be computer logic, like the zeros and ones or whatever, just calculating stuff unrealistically, or the actual logic of how stuff was put in, either way, it's still sort of Polyphony Digital's bad logic. So we'll go ahead and get into it now. And remember, this is for fun. This ain't to slander them because, well, at this point, I'm definitely getting GT Sport. I'm definitely going to enjoy playing it. So, 90% of the time, I'm going to be having a whole heck of a heap of a good time. It's just the other 10% that's sort of worth pointing out. Maybe, just maybe. But anyway, for this first one, I'll go ahead and get right into it. I'm driving a Dragon Trail, one of the scarier tracks, or Dragon Trail, because it sounds better that way. And I go a little bit wide into this turn, no big deal though, because I don't hit that wall, and it's just practice anyway. But, even though this literally affects no cars whatsoever, I'm not getting on the track hurting anyone, because there's no other cars. I get a penalty for that. How in any way, shape, or form is that a penalty, especially when there's no other cars on the track? I could see why going wide could maybe be a penalty in certain circumstances, because it might slow down a car behind you, because they wouldn't really know exactly what to do, because you are just taking a different line. But when there's no cars around you whatsoever, going wide should not be a penalty. There's no possible way you could gain time going wide there. It's a longer line, and all along you don't carry more momentum, because there's not enough of a runoff there. This should not be a penalty. There's been other instances of stupid penalties too, but this is definitely one of the worst. There's no reason for this to be a penalty, and this is one of those things that should be fixed, because there's literally no good reason for it. You're hurting people doing this. There's literally no advantage. It helps everyone fixing this. And anyway, on to the next thing. This is more hurting myself, but I have a feeling this has happened more than just myself. I go in to enter a race with still some time left. I didn't really get on in as good of a time as I wanted to, but there's still time left. There's 10 seconds there. So I enter the race, do all that stuff, and it's loading me in now, I assume. And it's loading me in, I assume. It's loading me in, I assume. I know that seemed quick, but that was 4 minutes. If I lagged out or something, it should tell me that I lagged out. It just shouldn't have me sitting there waiting forever. And for that matter, I got in time too. By the time I pressed that and pressed the like where it shows your car balance of power, there's probably 5 seconds left. So I definitely got in, and even if I didn't, it should tell me so. Shouldn't leave me sitting on track, or sitting on that screen. Not on track there. That just makes sense, folks. That just makes sense. If you're not going to make it into the race, they should tell you so, not just leave you hanging for... Really, that would have been unlimited time, probably, if I left it there. But anyway, on to the next thing. And this one's kind of annoying too. It's sort of the same thing, but in a different way. This race is about to start here. This one I did end up loading into, and everything looks good, I guess. Loading in fine as of now. I haven't lagged out or anything. So once I load in, I'll be able to race. Once I load in, I'll be able to race. Once I load in, I'll be able to race. Once I load in, I'll be able to race. Once I load in, I'll be able to race. Once I load in, I'll be able to race. Again? In a different situation. The same thing. In a different situation. If you didn't make it to the race, the game should tell you so. They shouldn't just leave you hanging in doubt. In GT6, they love to tell you they lag out. In the quick matches, the way they do it is they say entry failed, and then they make you wait for 5 seconds before it says disconnected to the servers. They tell you twice with waiting time in between to hype up your anger. In sport, they don't tell you at all a lot of the time, or at least in the beta. And again, this is the beta. Go ahead and fix this now while it's in the beta and not affecting many people. Fix it now and I don't even care. Don't fix it and this is the main game. I'm going to be a little bit angry. There's no reason why this should happen. Especially when GT6 loves to tell you they lag out. That happens half the races in quick matches. Jiminy cricket. I literally can't think of any reason why this happens. But again, it ain't my logic. It's PD's logic, folks. And anyway, going to the next one. These are spread out through quite a span, so I can't actually 100% remember what the next one is. But once I do remember, I'm sure I'll remember it pretty picking vividly, honestly. Because usually if I save these, they made me a bit ticked off to the point of I'm going to remember it. And once we get to it, folks, this should be... Oh yeah, this picture. 26 to 26 miles. No big deal to me because I already got all the cars. But how can I go 26 to 26 miles but then not get the car? I've done the thing, but it just didn't give me the car. For people who don't have all the cars yet, and they see you gone 26 or 26 miles but don't get the car, that's going to annoy them, because that means you have to load up another race and then go extra time, and then there's all that extra time of loading. If you go 26 miles, you're supposed to get the car, but not in this. Again, not really all that big a deal, because I don't even know if that's going to be a feature in the main game. I guess we'll just have to see. For how they worded it, sort of just sounded like that's a beta thing, but I don't know. It's not a bad feature. You get a free car if you go 26 miles, if it works. If it don't, then you have to go miles again, but whatever, I guess. And then on to the next one. I'm just doing my merry way here in a race, and I'm getting ready to go here. And this time, it actually does as it should. It tells me I disconnected, but because it started a race, I still get the negative driver rating. One step forward, it did tell me I disconnected this time. One step back, it hurt my driver rating. I think this has been in previous ones too, but they still haven't fixed it. This has to be fixed. This is almost game breaking. For people with bad internet like me who get disconnected 10% of the races or so, if it happens to be you get a bad day and you get disconnected at a point of a race where it hurts your sportsmanship and driver rating and all that every time, that could drop you a whole letter. I mean, if you get lagged out of a race, why in any circumstance would that hurt you? That's the game servers kicking you out. That shouldn't hurt the person. If anything, that should hurt the game. It should look bad on them, and maybe, if anything, they should give a slight reward to the person or whatever. We're sorry our servers couldn't make you race here, so here's 0.1% of a bar for a letter or something, because you were possibly going to get that in a race anyway. But no, they do the exact reverse of that, and that's just annoying, folks. That's just annoying. There's no reason for that whatsoever. There's no reason for a lot of this, honestly. I know all these usually get dislikes, but for the people who dislike this, unless it's literally PD employees, I know everyone has their own opinion, and I like freedom of speech and all that, and voicing your opinion, but this is meant to be constructive and help the general public here, because a lot of these things need fixed. They're not necessarily game breaking, but they're definitely game altering. And actually, the one with the driver rating is pretty close to game breaking, especially if you have bad internet. And there's probably a whole heck of a heap of people with worse internet than me. I have about the worst internet in America, but this is an international game. America in general has good internet. For other countries without good internet, people are just out of luck. Spit out of luck. I don't want to be spit out of luck, that's for sure. If I'm going to get spit out of anything, I'd rather get spit out of like a fancy bed or something, so then I at least land on like a comfortable place. No, I get spit out of the game and landed into a worse lobby because my driver rating goes down. So, yeah, that's all the ones I'm going to do for now, but there's still a whole heck of a heap I could do. And you notice the theme of this episode, it's the disconnections and the bad servers and stuff. That is something that's been going on for a long time. PD, one of the things they can't do very well is servers. GT6, they haven't fixed the servers. The quick matches are still terrible. GT Sport, they're better than the quick matches, sure, but they're still not great. Actually, connecting into a race is okay. It's probably in the top maybe 20% of games that I have played online with for connecting in a race. It's the stupid stuff that goes on in a race is what makes me mad. Like the random disconnections they don't tell you about, or the disconnections that hurt your driver rating, or the random penalties that shouldn't happen at all. If these things get fixed, again, I don't care. At least I put light on them and they got fixed and they did as they should. If they don't, that's really when you should be mad about this. As of now, cut them some slack. The game ain't out yet. In a few months' time, when it's on the actual game and the same stuff is still happening, if it is, that's when we need to raise awareness for it even more. This is precautionary. In the future, maybe not, folks. Maybe not. And also, for the future, I don't know if I'm going to do another one of these or not, just given that if November 16th is the correct release date, it ain't all that far from the game being out. And at this point, all this stuff in theory should pretty much be fixed, given that we ain't all that far from the game coming out. But we'll just have to see, folks. We'll just have to see. And as always, I hope you all enjoyed this, and remember to take this for fun, because as of now, it ain't that big of a deal. The big deal will be when the game is out. And of course, yeehaw!